Welcome back to the channel. I'm Austin, and Warzone just had Season 2's mid-season update that gave the Aug a slight nerf, and many people are wondering if it's still better than the M16. I'm here to give you an updated comparison of these two weapons to give you all the tools to decide which weapon you prefer to use. At the end of it, I'll give you loadouts for each weapon and tell you which one I prefer and why. First, I'm going to go over what the Aug does better than the M16, and the reason that many people have gravitated toward using the Aug over the M16 in the recent past is because of its faster theoretical time to kill. All this means is if you hit your shots, you can drop people slightly quicker. The reason it has the faster TTK though is due to it having a slightly faster fire rate, and it achieves this by having a shorter delay in between its bursts, meaning you can pull the trigger a little bit quicker. Then, maybe the most important thing that the Aug does better is its bullet velocity. Its base bullet velocity is 885 versus the M16's 750, and this gap only widens when you start to put on the attachments. The higher the bullet velocity, the better the weapon will feel at range because it will make it feel more hit scan. You won't have to lead your shots as much, meaning you can just point right at the person and the bullets are going to go straight there. Bullet velocity just equals the bullets are going to travel faster to your target. Now let's talk about the benefits of the M16 over the Aug. With ADS times, the M16 has a slight advantage which helps it counteract its disadvantage with the TTK. If you can ADS faster, it allows you to accurately shoot your shots first, so that basically, it's a little bit of a give and take between the two weapons. One does something a little better, the other one does something else a little better, making them almost identical, but the most important benefit the M16 has is its recoil and the burst bullet spread. The mid-season update gave the Aug slightly more recoil, but it's hard to tell the difference because it really isn't much of one. It's kind of like when they nerfed the DMR and the Type 63 and they said they added more recoil but nothing changed. This is basically the same update. And the M16 has all vertical recoil while the Aug has vertical and horizontal recoil, making the M16 much easier to use. But I believe the real advantage comes from the burst bullet spread, where the M16 once again has perfect vertical spread, meaning that each bullet just goes on top of the other one. And then with the Aug, 2 out of the 3 bullets are vertical, as in one bullet is above the other, but one of the 2 goes slightly off to the right, meaning that it's harder to hit all 3 rounds from your burst, making it a little bit more difficult to get that TTK that it has the advantage with. So lastly, I'd like to go over what these two weapons do exactly the same, and it's a lot. All the movement stats outside of ADS are identical. Sprint to fire time, movement speed, tac sprint to fire time, hip fire, reload time, ADS movement speed, and mag size. So as you can probably tell, they're almost an identical weapon, and that's why this will mainly come down to preference on which one you're going to want to use. And let's just say, for me, I prefer the M16 because these two weapons are so similar that even a slight micro nerf will change which one is better, or at least perceived to be better. I've used both of these things since the update, and the Aug still absolutely fries, so you can't make a wrong choice with either one, but the M16's ease of use is just too good to pass up. Now let's get into the class setups, and once again you're going to want to use the identical attachments for the almost identical weapons. You're going to want to start off with an agency suppressor because it's Warzone and you need a suppressor. You don't want to show up on that mini-map. It's also a great attachment because it improves bullet velocity, and so does the next attachment, the strike team barrel. And once you have those two on there, you're already off to a great start, but you're going to want an optic of your choice because the weapons are meant to be used for mid to long range, and that's why I choose an optic with some extra zoom, the axial arms 3 times. Since we're using these for long range, we're also going to need to combat some recoil, which is why we're going to be using the field agent grip. And then lastly, it's Warzone, so you already know we need more than 30 rounds in a mag because we're going to be taking on, if you're playing trios or quads especially, you're going to be taking on teams of 3 or 4 people, and you're just not going to be able to wipe whole teams with only 30 rounds. So we're going to put on the 45 round stag mag because the 60 and 54 round mag respectively for the two weapons will hurt your ADS too much, and the fast mags barely help you while also hurting your ADS. And then at that point you're going to have a weapon that's going to beat any fully automatic weapon at mid to long range. The only thing you might lose to will be a sniper if they headshot you, but if you're going up against a Grau, no chance. You're going up against an XM4, no chance. Kilo, no chance for them. You're just going to win. So at this point of the game, until they do something to nerf these more, they're going to easily be the best weapon that isn't a sniper for mid to long range. But now, if you want to know the rest of the class, I'm going to give it to you now, like what you should use for your secondary, your perks. Let's get into it. So for the secondary, there's a multitude of ways you can go with this. The FFAR, even though they did just nerf this with the mid-season update, they really didn't do anything to it. Just like the AUG, the changes are pretty much meaningless. The only thing I guess that really helped was the nerf to the fast mag, but nerfing bullet velocity doesn't matter that much because people are only using this thing at close to mid-range, meaning that the bullet velocity isn't going to be that key until you get to those super long ranges, which is why it's so important with the AUG and M16. So the FFAR is still broken, but I'm not going to suggest you use it with these, even though I know it's a popular choice, just because of the movement speed. I think it really hurts the weapon, because if you're using an FFAR, there's no way for you to run around the map really quickly, which is why I'm not going to suggest a Bullfrog as well. And I'm going to be suggesting a Mac 10, just because that is the best SMG if you want to be moving around quickly. You have the best movement speed out of all the subs with that. So let's get into the attachments on it. So now for the attachments on the Mac, you're going to want to start off with Agency Suppressor because, of course, you still need that silencer. You're going to want a 53 round Stag Nag because you need the big bullet clip just so you can take out multiple people at once with it. Then you're going to want a Field Agent Grip because it really helps with that recoil. I mean, it isn't super bad on the weapon anyways, and you are using it at close range, but this gives you a little bit more leeway with it, meaning you can use it up to like 15, 20 meters and it still works. The damage will drop off by then, but if you use it up to 15 meters with the Field Agent Grip, it's going to be super accurate. You shouldn't have any problems hitting your shots, but you should definitely be aiming for the upper chest of the head because it does help that time to kill. And the next thing you're going to want to use is the 6.1 reinforced barrel because that's going to help your bullet velocity and damage range, so it's going to get you that max damage to get out a little bit farther, an extra couple meters, and then you're also going to be getting the bullet velocity so the bullets get there faster. And the last attachment you're going to want to use is the SAS Combat Stock. And what this is going to do is it's really going to help your strafe speed, and while you're firing your shots, basically you're going to be able to move faster, which is going to allow you to avoid some shots when you're up close, which is really important to winning your gunfights. And then if we're going to move on over to the perks, these ones are pretty simple and straightforward. Obviously, you're going to need Overkill to get both these weapons right away, and when you get your second loadout, just get Ghost. But with perk 1, really there's only one option to use, and it's EOD, because it's going to help you not take as much damage from explosives. So when people have nades, thermites, C4s, RPGs, all that stuff, you won't be getting absolutely throttled, because pretty much the only other perk in there that's maybe even worth using is Double Time, and if you want to get around the map faster, you might as well just use vehicles. So EOD is pretty much the only perk you're going to want to use in slot 1. And then over in slot 3, what we're going to be using is obviously Amped. Well, I don't know why I said obviously, but it lets you switch your weapons faster and get equipment out faster. If you want to chuck some C4 or a thermite, whatever you're using on it, you can do it quicker. And swapping your weapons is really important, because if we're using the Mac for movement speed, when we're running in the open, we're going to be having the Mac out, so we're getting along through the open fields, which is obviously the scariest part of Warzone, when you got no cover and you're just trying to get through a zone. So if someone pulls up to you and they're far away, but you have your Mac out because you're trying to run faster, you're gonna have to be able to switch to your M16 or AUG really quickly and start shooting them. So that's why you want Amped. And then finally, what are we going to use for tactical and lethal? Well, for me, I always love having C4 the most, even though it did get nerfed a while back and you can't throw it as far. If a vehicle's coming up to you, C4 is still your best friend because no one's running an RPG. C4 is going to allow you to blow up the entire team in the car, and I just think it's better. If you're not going to use C4, I would then suggest Thermite, just because I think it is a little bit more versatile than a Semtex. It still can do a good amount of damage to vehicles, and then also if you're trying to run away, you can throw it through a doorway, and if a lot of people are going to get scared off by that Thermite going off in the doorway. They aren't going to want to take any damage, even if it does minimal damage there. It's just going to hold them off, so it can buy you some time. Or if they run through, at least you're going to get off like maybe a half a plate, a full plate, something like that. And then for the tactical equipment, for your first loadout, I would suggest using Heartbeat, because no one's going to have Ghost at that point of the game. Well, most people won't, and everyone's going to show up on Heartbeat. Then, second loadout, when you get Ghost, I would probably try to pick up a stun grenade, because those things are just so overly broken, and no one uses Tac Mask just because in the perk slot it's in, you just can't use it over anything else. So stuns are going to be OP at the end of the game, and I definitely put that on. And that's going to be your full class loadout. So for me, I would use an M16 with a Mac, and then I'd have C4 as my lethal. And I think if you run into your games with that loadout, you're going to be having no problems dropping high kill games. and it's just going to make you tear through the lobby. But that's it for this one, and I hope you guys all enjoyed. If you liked the video, make sure to hit that like button. It really helps out in the algorithm so we can get this video pushed out to more people. And subscribe if you want to see more content from us. Peace.